unfortunately, our space at Google is already nearly completely done after we've done all the recording of the Idea Fest.
Yes, yes. We cannot keep up with so much recordings.
Yeah.
Too many
Just
things
too
to watch.
much.
Yeah.
So, Victor, what are you showing now?
Okay, you just
make us walk again. Victor, make us walk all the time.
Yeah, sure. So we are using this tool. I just shared this here in the chat. And the idea is for us to write down in different columns things that, the first column, for example, general things that you thought about Fund 6 in Catalyst. In the second column, things that you liked or really enjoyed during Fund 6. Things that you've learned, also things that you thought that were missing from the community side, or from IRG, or from IDSK, or from some of the tools that you've used during this fund, and some things that were implemented, for example, that were not available before during previous funds. And we are spending some minutes doing this, and after, let's say, 5 more minutes, we are going to vote on the most interesting topics to be discussed here, and then we are going to spend 5 minutes discussing them. And thanks for asking. Now it's recorded. Yeah, so you can like or love or cry over some of these notes. You have all these options to do as well. Really good, really good. Someone would like to say something before we vote on the notes, or would you like some more time, some more minutes, a couple minutes maybe? I see some people writing still, so let's wait a couple minutes. I'll be back in just 1 minute. Okay, still have some notes being added here, so let's just wait a couple more minutes again. Good. So we have a lot of notes here. Thank you all. In all different columns. And I was expecting this already, but we have more comments here in the things missing column. It's good because we have things to work on and to improve. So it's really good to have this feedback from you guys. And okay, I think you can see here in my screen that I have this this bar that doesn't show up for you probably. And it's the first time I'm using this. I'm not 100% sure how this is going to work, but I'm going to start the vote and give the opportunity for everyone to vote on 5 different cards here, and then we can go over, let's say, the 5 most voted ones and discuss them a bit.
Victor, just need to click, nothing to do, nothing to submit, just click.
I think so.
All right.
So only 2 people are still voting. Let's wait for them. I just realized that you might be biased by my own votes here since I'm sharing the screen.
I didn't even look.
Good.
Don't worry in this community.
Yeah.
It's like a delegation experiment, you know?
Yep. Okay,
So Lucio, when will there be delegation?
We will probably have some really cool stuff for the next fund. Not probably delegation, but I think something in the water tool will show up. I can't say anything more, but we'll see. I think we are approaching the delegation probably. So we don't have to wait too much funds probably, but I don't know. It's only my opinion, my speculation, but we will see something in that direction soon, probably.
So I just noticed Philip joined us.
Okay, Victor.
I'm going to share again the link to this.
I know I already voted in the Felix's room, so I'm just jumping a little bit.
Okay.
You want to double vote?
Okay, so I just end the voting now. Let's see the results. Yeah, I think the first one is too many proposals overloaded for community plus not good connection to platforms with wider audience. So who wrote this down if you want to say something about this?
So I think I wrote it down. And yes, I personally see it as a kind of a big issue. So I mean, it's not the biggest issue for the proposal itself, although I think even for proposals, it's kind of an issue. So we have, first of all, we have a lot of funds, and the difference of funds is increasing. So we had, I don't know, I think we had a global partnership onboarding, which was this tiny challenge with 30K, where I was thinking, okay, why did that get funded? Okay, it was a community challenge, whatever, but these will probably increase as we now open it completely up, and more and more funds. So first, the challenge is for the proposer. Okay, find the right challenge, right? This is the first issue. And then, I mean, there were over 700 proposals. So to see where there's collaboration potential and the synergies is very, very hard for the proposal itself. And then, of course, for voting, for the voter, because nobody has an overview anymore on all the proposals. I mean, it's natural that it will be like this over time, but still it's not easy to navigate as a proposer in that space where you see these thousands of proposals and all of this. And there comes the second part. It's hard to connect with a wider audience, especially because the competition is so high, or there are so many proposals. For outsiders to come in and to see like your proposal is really, really hard. So, I mean, and there's not a clear way to communicate to the community, because like I feel personally like that the people who are very engaged in idea scale, that is all kind of limited, and there's not a natural link to platforms like, I don't know, to, for example, the Cardano Reddit community or bigger YouTube channels. I mean, even if you look at, for example, IoT click-through rates for the town hall meetings and everything that is related to idea scale, it's just a tiny fraction. And yeah, there's not this natural flow, even no integration within idea scale that people, I don't know, have the option, for example, to add a video or to add anything that is connected to different platforms. So that's what I wrote and kind of what I thought. I don't know, maybe the people who voted on it had a different interpretation of what I wrote down, but.
Yeah, is there someone else who wants to say something about this?
Yeah, maybe I think in the town halls and though in the beginning, he kind of promoted to have a lot of proposals, right? I mean, you say, if you have something, just put it down, right? And then we'll see. And I think it's also incentivized a lot of proposals coming on. And even if they are not ready, and many people did many proposals. So then obviously the quality, it creates a lot of work for everyone, while many of them might not be relevant. That's kind of, I don't know if it makes sense, but there was a kind of incentive to, yeah, go ahead and put proposals on somehow. And then think about it, then feel it, even you can change it all later, right? And yeah, I don't know, maybe, I think it was good because maybe it brought some good proposals, but it also created overload on the system for everyone.
Yeah, Jacob.
Yeah, I would like to add a point there. I think, I'm not 100% sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think even the system incentivizes even more to have more proposals, because the likelihood to get funded if you request a huge amount of ADA is lower. Therefore, it makes sense to split the proposal, and the lower you split it, the higher your likelihood is, especially if you have a good team, your CA score is higher, and then you will get a lot of high ratings for not that much amount of ADA. So the likelihood for you to get all of it is way higher than if you have just one proposal or one big or maybe too big. If you have 10 proposals, maybe even split among different challenges, you increase your likelihood to get funded a lot, which leads to, yeah, general more proposals, which adds to the problem.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, two remarks. I fully agree. We talk about community advisors next week, I understood, but I noticed following as a community advisor, complete challenge settings. You really notice what Jakob just said, that there are many small chunks of a bigger story proposed. You don't notice that if you're doing, let's say, one thing after the other. And as a proposer, that's of course a lesson learned. Yes, if you split it in smaller chunks and have a good placement, the likelihood will probably increase. For me, the biggest lack in managing the complexity would be kind of an overview, a clustered overview of different categories of proposals. What's already been proposed in the previous funds, what is really new, what is redundant. That's really hard to understand, even as a proposer and later specifically as a CA or VCA.
Yes, I would like to add just a point that it's probably this problem is important because we will see it a lot in the next funds. So probably it's important to address it in some way and think about how the community can scale the workload about this instead of limiting it. But it's just my opinion.
I would say that the problem is not that we have too many proposals itself. I think the problem is too much information over, like voter overloading. Because if we have a better way to present the proposals maybe, or by other categories, not just challenges. So, for example, if someone is specifically interested in something related to law, that could be in dApps or could be in NFTs or metadata, but it's a different categorization from what we have today, which are the challenges. Maybe this would make the voter's life a bit easier. Hey, Jacob.
Yeah, I would like to think a bit in a constructive way. So I think in general, there will be always an overload of the voter. And I think we can kind of circumvent it because, I mean, the approach of Cardano is to grow more and more and more and accelerate even more, so that we will never reach the point where everybody has the overview. But the question is, can we give the right amount of information to the right stakeholders, right, who need to get some stuff done? And therefore, I think it would make sense, as Heinz already pointed out, kind of to create this natural categorization of projects and to really see overarching projects, so that you don't always see like tiny bit of chunks in idea scale, but see, for example, if you are as a proposer interested in, I don't know, creating an NFT marketplace, that you don't see like a strange headline by a proposer who says like, I want to develop this tiny bit of a NFT marketplace, but rather, yeah, we are NFT marketplace ... And you see, okay, that makes sense. This is the team. And then you click on it somehow, and then all of the whatever proposals are linked to it. So it makes sense. You have these project teams or these overarching projects which are categorized in a useful way. And maybe that's even also useful for voters who want to dig into a different topic, but now speaking from the proposer perspective to see collaboration potential, etc., or even to spot redundancies.
Yeah, nice.
Right. I mean, this clustering, I really would see very helpful for the proposers. And also if I'm a proposer and I have a longer term idea. So I cut my proposal in chunks, a first phase, a second stage, and a later stage. That should be somehow transparent. I get a bit of feeling it's hidden at the moment out of fear that the money is probably too, it gets transparent, that in adding all together, it's quite substantial, but it should be, there's nothing to be ashamed if it's a big thing to also outline the longer term funding vision, that some proposals will come again in Fund 7, 8, and so on. So that's also not only the category, but also the concept of funding would be great to be a bit more visible.
Yeah. We can only check this if the same proposer the proposer is using the same ID scale account to submit different proposals. We can go there and check, but I mean, it's not intuitive. It's not easy to have this overview, and I completely agree with you. Maybe in the future we are going to have some CAs specialized in trying to find this kind of things and make this information visible for everyone. But if we have this somehow automated in the platform in the future, it would be very beneficial, I think. And also, maybe in the future we will need like specialized voters, because imagine when we have 5,000 different proposals, we cannot expect a single person to be able or be capable of assessing and voting in all of them, unless they are guided by maybe something else than the CA scores. And that's where delegation comes to play. Yeah, Euro.
Yeah, I think on the other end, if you look on the other side, I mean, it was incredible that there were so many proposals, and actually all the process around that was created to facilitate it was amazing. I mean, it was amazing to see, and bravo. I mean, and that's the other side. I mean, because you had so many proposals actually, which created a lot of workload. See, the process that was created around the CAs and BCAs and the scale of that was also important, because it makes many more people feel part of the community, and they can BCA, they can go to BVCAs afterwards. And I think that was great on that perspective. So I don't know, again, how we improve the proposal levels and so on. That's overall, it helped the system to, I think, get yeah, do some stuff which is extraordinary. Just
So, does anyone have anything else to comment about this?
About the comment I made, or about something you know?
Yes, about the comment itself, about having too many proposals currently. Because, yeah, Matthias.
Yeah, so I'm an offender of too many proposals. It was also, well, Victor knows because he helped. Good for us. But to Heinz' point earlier, right? So we try to be transparent, and so every proposal has, okay, these are the other proposals that are directly linked to this, and there's also the proposals that are, you know, some of our core team members work on. And so the reason why we did that is one of the other topics here was essentially that I felt that some challenges were severely underfunded, specifically the dApps and integration. And so we were looking for ways to make it more reasonable or more feasible, really, that we can actually sustain ourselves over the months that it would take us to deliver this product, and not having to seek funding fund after fund, right? Because I come from a background where I expect that this round of funding is the last round of funding that you'll ever receive. Which was a challenge, and we tried to circumvent that or go around it by splitting things up. And I think we did an okay job. So our dApp is the main selling point there, just for the marketplace that we're creating. But then also we have a specific NFT, and we have a specific Atala Prism challenge. So they fit within the challenges, but there was a common, not common, but it was noticeable that some CAs held that against us, saying it's like, oh, this is a related proposal. Of course it is, because, you know, we have it listed as such. So I'm not too sure what, it would be interesting to hear other CAs in the coming weeks, what their experience is and how they see these kinds of things, because that's also something that I noticed in a previous fund, right? You saw this group of people, right, that do proposal after proposal, and it all reads very much the same in different challenges, right? So I understand that pattern that's problematic, and I think my job as a proposer is a better job of communicating, okay, well, yes, this is part of the bigger piece, but what happens if you actually do not get funded in the specific challenge, right? That's one learning that I found for myself as a proposer, as a first-time proposer. But I do believe that just the funding amount and the incredible work that Victor's done with the data analysis, where people could see, it's like, okay, well, if I request too much money historically, that's really, really bad. Now, the problem here is also that we have a new incentive model with the rewards, that CAs are incentivized to actually do better, quote unquote, better assessments or higher ratings on proposals that request a lot of ADA. So it's interesting to see what's ultimately comes out of this, but I do want to point out that I think part of the reason is also that some of the challenges I see are very, very much underfunded, while others are not. So.
Philip.
Yeah, well, Matthias said it, I think, very, very well, better than I can, for sure. But yeah, I just want to look at it from a perspective of, let's say, the purpose of funding even, right? Should, and maybe we can ask ourselves that, should Project Catalyst just be an initial kickstart for the whole project, or should it be like the whole, funding for everything. Right now, like Matthias said, right now with the fund sizes and with the concepts that we're using, it's just not feasible to have a fully, I mean, it is feasible for some, you know, smaller one-time, you know, tools, data sets, things like that. But if you want to run, let's say, a DEX, it's not enough for you to get like $40,000 and I'm going to run a DEX, right? It's impossible. I mean, if developers are going to volunteer, then, you know, please give me their number. But so maybe we just need to think about it in a way, look, if we're going to increase the number of challenges, and it seems like we will, yes, the money, you know, the amount of funding will keep on going up, but also the number of challenges will keep on going up. Of course, then you have that, you know, a lot of proposers are questioning which challenge am I supposed to put my proposal in? And, you know, and you have to think about, okay, if I put it in this one has 75K and this one has 250K. And it's very similar. You can spin your proposal to look more like this one or that one. And, you know, should it even be like that? Should maybe proposers just need to focus on doing their thing? And, you know, if you have a project that tackles a little bit of DeFi and it also includes NFTs, and maybe one day you want to have identity in it, you can basically put it anywhere, right? And then anyone can tell you, no, this is meant for another challenge, and here's a tool, right? And if CA writes a very nice explanation of why he or she thinks it's 2 stars, then a VCA will rate that as excellent, right? And it's just, you know, from a proposer perspective, it's not simple, you know. And yes, it helps if you are in Catalyst for some time now, so you kind of know how to navigate these things. But, you know, we still have a lot way to go, you know, to find the best, if there is such a thing as a best solution. But yeah.
Nice. You're muted.
That's exactly what I wanted to say as well. It's important to outline, is Catalyst just a kickstart of a funding, or is it really funding a bigger initiative over the development life cycle? And that, I think, should be transparent. It should not be something to be ashamed or to hide. And otherwise, we'll see these tactical placements, as Philip just said, in different challenge settings out of good reasons. And that, of course, again, can be negatively perceived. And it's also not good to fund thousands of projects and then let them die after the first step. So it's really important to nourish them. If Catalyst wants to do that, to reach really this kind of level of maturity. So I think for me, this is still pretty unclear. How is the further phases of funding in larger projects?
Yep. What I was going to say, it's actually related to what Philip mentioned. I think one thing that could help with this is better definitions of the challenges themselves, because I think that currently the challenges are defined by the community, and some of them are very good ideas but are not so well written. The KPIs are not good. For example, if there's no clear way to define challenge alignment, it's too broad. As you said, Philip, you can submit any proposal there if it has a little bit of overlap with the challenge alignment. It's enough for some people, for example. Maybe this could be improved. For example, after the challenge is voted, then we gather the community to improve the challenge itself, the body text of the challenge, the KPIs, the metrics, the challenge alignment. I'm not sure how feasible this would be, how easy it would be to change something after it's voted. But maybe if we have the consent of the proposer of this challenge set, maybe something like this could be implemented. Yeah, just brainstorming out loud. Yeah, Jacob.
Yeah, I think the question that all of you now raised before is very crucial with the aim of how projects are funded, to clarify that. And I think one component there is as well the structure of the funds, right? I mean, as I said, right now it's incentivized to fragment proposals, which leads to either like underfunding or just partial funding, like initial kickstarting amount, etc., stuff like this. And this is just now my personal opinion. I think it would be nice if like really professional projects could be funded via Catalyst, not only just small, tiny amounts. And therefore, I think it is necessary that with increasing funding size, the amount of funds or challenges don't increase in the same proportion, but less, that each fund gets bigger, that if you, for example, take the calculations, right? So we've seen the plots by Victor, that, I don't know, if you take, for example, 5% of the overall fund, you can still really have a substantial amount for your own development of the projects. And you maybe even get that in future as well, that you can have this more reliable source. And if it gets bigger and bigger, the chances, if you even would have the same amount you would request, for example, each round 50,000, right? Every 3 months, or even if the interval decreases, that you get, I don't know, each 2 months 50,000 or even more, and you have a decent chance of getting it, that would help it. But that would mean that there has to be a cap or like a certain rules or something like that also have to be voted on if everything is to be community driven, that increases a bit the sustainability of the funds. As of now, I don't see that. I don't know what IOG is thinking about, how they think about this issue, but as far as I understood it, if, for example, for Fund 7, it will be open, or now with the challenges of the 5.4 million, I think, I mean, that there was no clear guidance on how big the funds will be. So maybe that's all speculation, but I think that's a number that could really change a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Jacob. You know, I also think that maybe the better way would be to, you know, increase maybe the number of challenges, but not at a significant rate. And also, you know, about what IOG thinks, I think with each fund, it will be less and less about what IOG thinks and more about what we think. So it's on us to have these, you know, conversations and to find solutions, because I am pretty certain, like if we jump into, let's say, fund 12 or 15 or 20, the community will set up the challenges, the community will set up the amounts for challenges, the community will set up everything, right? So it's just for us to think about, because that's the point, that's Voltaire. We all need to make decisions for ourselves. Also, the beauty of Catalyst is that you don't have to go through a classical, let's say, VC process. You don't have to, you know, go through that and then be judged by a small panel and they say yes or no. But also, the way the Catalyst process works is like a VC panel, is just like a huge VC panel. And we have to, you know, accept the fact that pure reputation means something, like pure reputation between CAs and VCAs. If there were 60 VCAs in this fund, and if you know 45 of them, it's just human nature that they are maybe going to, tend to be favorable to your proposal. It's human nature. We shouldn't run away from it. We shouldn't ignore it. It is what it is, right? We just have to take it into consideration. Big projects, I don't know, maybe if we do some math, like developer ecosystem is a little bit more than $1 million now. And, I think we all agree that there's plenty of tooling needs to be done for the developers in our ecosystem. But who knows, maybe dApps and integrations in 1 year will be much larger, because that's the growth of the ecosystem. But that's all on us. That's all on us to decide. So we should be thinking about it, definitely.
I would like to mention one point regarding the sustainability of funding again. So we've talked now about the funding amount in one funding period, but also there should be the security of more long-term funding, which is only given if you know that, for example, a certain funding challenge will there be in future as well. So I think it would make sense for the community to decide upon longer timeframes that businesses can calculate, for example, that there will be these challenges that they can apply for. Because I don't know if there's going to be fund 6, it's going to be like this, and then fund 7 completely different, fund 8 again like this. I mean, nobody can reliably calculate with it. So this is the second thing that I was now thinking of, which is very, very important, that if the community decides upon stuff like this, there should be also a longer term component for the security of businesses that we really want to engage it. If it's not being done, serious businesses won't engage with it. That's, I mean, or that's more like a lottery then, which I think should be the approach of Catalyst.
Going back to what Philip said about fragmenting and becoming smaller proposals, and what you just said, Jacob, I don't think that the system is oriented to fund businesses. $20,000, $50,000, that doesn't fund a business, and it's, in my view, it's a little bit like throwing good money after bad. If somebody wants to do a business, if somebody wants to do create an Excel spreadsheet, okay, that's fine, 5,000, 10,000. But if the intention is to bring projects into the Cardano community that can increase adoption and reputation of the community, those aren't going to be accomplished by $20,000 awards. And so I'm not so sure about the structure. And to say that, okay, I'm going to ask for 20,000, unless it's particularly said like that. I want $20,000 to investigate this idea. And if the idea proves to be attractive, or I can get some market attraction, then I'll resubmit in the next fund, as you were talking about, Jacob. But most of the proposals are just, here's my idea, I'm going to build this, and in 6 months, I'm going to have this, in 12 months, I'm going to have that. And ask is $20,000 or $50,000. Unrealistic. I mean, it's just a game.
Yeah, I think this is very related to the size of the fund itself. Now it's 4 million in 2 or 3 funds, it's going to be 16 million. So is this going to be enough to fund whole projects or not? Maybe, for example, dev ecosystem now has 1 million. It will have 4 million in the future. And based on those charts, the magic number is to ask up to 20% of the funding. So in this case, it would be $800,000. which is very good money for a startup, but not for a whole business. Yeah.
Sure, but even so, it's that's of the total fund. The
Yeah.
challenges themselves have 200,000, 300,000. And I think all of us look at a proposal. If the proposal is asking for $200,000, it's like, that's half of the challenge fund. Good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not going to promote one let's say, interesting idea, but not necessarily business proposal, or even if it is a good business proposal, to take half of the fund. So the total amount of $8 million or whatever is divided into challenges that are 500,000, 200,000. So there's no room in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the way I looked on that, I mean, it's exactly that. I mean, the proposals, and it's either proposal ideas or features, specific features, right? I mean, that's what the fund are aiming for initially, a very small initial project or seed project. I think what also you get here is the community, which is very important in general. But in my head was always, okay, what's the next step, right? I mean, it's kind of the way Catalyst is built today is really for early stage or specific features, for people that know the system very well. Otherwise, it goes always in my head, okay, what next? What's the incubation phase? What's next with the projects? And I saw that it's something that has to be a different phase. I mean, because already there's very experienced people working on big projects and some proposals that are just ideas, right? That came like this. So we cannot put them in the same basket in the same processes sometimes. So that's the way I view it up to now, is that we are trying to look on ways to come with ideas for different challenges and to get as many proposals as possible to start testing them. Again, there are some very experienced people that know the system that came up with specific, very useful tools, which get voted normally. But then kind of, yeah, definitely need to be the next phase there which have to come from a different pocket or a different model. Like when the startups start maturing, right? So I don't know. I worked a lot with startups in different phases, a lot of funding, a lot of that. And for me, that's kind of what I see up to now in the system. And it's interesting to see what's the ambition. I mean, what I would say if the ambition is to scale. I mean, there even was a process of mini proposal, right? Which is even a step before, kind of by the great members of the community. So that's a big question. And if the community can start somehow defining that can be interesting. I mean, defining all the process. I mean, what's happening in Catalyst? What's the level of funding, of support, for what stage? That's what's missing, right? What's the stage of the company, the startup? Yeah, and I think that's what created a lot of confusion. And as I said, the way it was promoted a little bit, it kind of promoted, yeah, make the proposal, add proposals. This is why we came up with a lot of proposals. Just a thought.
Yeah, Yoram, I agree completely. I think that even at this scale, even simply communicating is a big, challenge. You have to, and Catalyst School and Victor and everybody there are doing a great job and a big step. For then Lucia with the tools. Let's keep in mind that these tools did not exist a couple of months ago, and the learning was not available, and it is growing. But then again, if you come at it from a perspective of, how much do we want to scale? Because let's say that we have 500 VCAs, right? I mean, is it feasible to hold workshops for each and every one of them? Is it feasible to hold workshops for 3,000-4,000 CAs and for them to review 10,000 proposals, or I don't know how many. I mean, it's just a big challenge, and you know, people not knowing each other will definitely become, you know, an issue, I think. And also on the side of funding, I see Catalyst, me personally, as it is now, but also maybe as it will be in the, at least the next couple of funds, is just a jump off board, right? If you can get that initial piece and maybe use that as something like, okay, I got funded there, so I have some kind of recognition from the community. People believe that my project means something. I can ask for money outside of Catalyst, right? It's much easier to approach a fund and ask them for $300,000, $400,000, euros, whatever. And you can tell them, well, yeah, I got already 40,000, and here is my team, and here are my marketing materials, and here is my, I don't know, tokenomics or whatever project business model. And I can tell you that maybe in 2-3 years, we will, you know, we can start earning money and, you know, paying you off or whatever. Yoram, you are much more experienced there. But it's just a nice, I would say, a reputation, a nice thing that you went through all that process and you got something in the end. And you are part of this cohort and you're there. The community at least knows you. You come to the town hall once in a while, you know, a couple of 100,000 people knows about your project. And if you keep at it, it's just a nice jumping board, in my opinion. I don't see it really as a fully funding mechanism. Although, let's say if we look at liquid finance, I mean, since Fund 2, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they received funding in each fund. And, you know, great project, all, you know, kudos to them. But also, I don't know them, but I would say that even beyond that, they partnered with other entities. Again, I don't know. It just seems to me like that.
Yes, I totally agree with this last concept about the jumping platform, something like that. And I think the main reason is because we are defining ourselves, our mechanism. So probably it's necessary to have some iteration steps to define how the things should work and how the process is basically. And only after you have a major consensus about this, probably you can I don't know, create something that it could be useful also for major businesses. And to think about it in practical, I think what I understood for your comments, the major issue about this now, it's the lack of plannings for the future, and the fact that each fund could change a lot, probably. So what I see as the real issue is to define only the challenges for the next fund, probably. So it makes probably sense to start thinking about I don't know, voting for a challenge that will stay there for 3 funds, for 4 funds. It is something that probably could help for a business that really needs a lot of funds, and it can plan it in a better way.
Yeah, Philip, to endorse that, I think you're right. The real value of a successful funding in Catalyst is the reputation for others, and I mean for outside sources of funding, because really even if it's a business, some proposals are not a business, but if it's a business, you don't stop at 300,000. You need 500,000 in 2 years or 3 years. But a community endorsement of a large scale community is worth something. And so I think going back to what Lucio said also is that I think it's a function of redefining or refining the purpose And if we can tell everybody or agree to, let's say, a different version of what we're doing, and maybe the fundings are uniformly set at $20,000, and it's whatever, I mean, some number. It's what you can do with that is what you can do with that. But the point is that to achieve, see what you can achieve for that $20,000. I think some proposers have their own funding. Like, for example, Igor in Cardano Wall. He started off saying that I'll build the project. I'm not going to ask for funding. Now he's asking for funding to expand it, but he built his system first with his own funding. So I think that there's some serious rethinking that needs to be done.
Yep, I agree. Well, I think we spent 1 hour in this first card. And I really have to go now. But I didn't want to stop the conversation in the middle because it was really good. We had a lot of insights here. I took some notes. I'm going to share this with the Catalyst Circle. And also all of these other cards, other thoughts that we had here, and we placed them in these columns. If you have something else you'd like to add here, please feel free to do so, or just export the information in 1 hour or so. And I think that's it. Thank you all for being here. If you are a CA, probably next week we are going to have a CA retrospective as well from a different point of view. And yeah, thanks again. See you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, see you
Good night.
soon.
Victor.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you, Vic.